Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to invite Ms. Karine Keller-Sutter, President of the Swiss Confederation, to deliver her address. Madam President.
Well, thank you, Madam President, Mr. Sadriou, Excellencies, dear colleagues in the Federal Council, ladies and gentlemen. Madam President, we are really delighted to welcome you and your delegation to Switzerland. And I mean, it was just a great welcome that your people gave you on the Parliament Square here. It was really enthusiastic, and this was for you and shows how popular you are and how much love you get from your population. Now, Switzerland was one of the first countries to recognize Kosovo's independence in 2008, and now we have the privilege of hosting the first state visit by a Kosovar head of state in our country. This visit is a testament to the diverse relations that flourish between Switzerland and Kosovo. And it is an opportunity to highlight the promising prospects for the continued exchange between our two countries. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge that the more than 160,000 people who formed the Kosovar diaspora in Switzerland, the first Kosovar workers came to our country back in the 1960s and 70s. They supported our economic growth during that period, contributing to industry, hospitality, and construction. Later in the 1990s, a far more distressing wave of migration followed. Political turmoil and ultimately war forced many Kosovars to flee their homeland. During those dark days, Switzerland offered sanctuary and security to tens of thousands. Since then, many of these families have established new roots here and forged new paths for themselves. Today, numerous second and third generation Swiss citizens of Kosovar heritage call Switzerland their home. They have become woven into the fabric of our society. Whether they're football stars, teachers, mechanics, managers, or politicians, they have all helped shape our nation for decades. Their success stories are also Switzerland's success stories. A fine example of the close bonds between our countries is that the Kosovar ambassador to Switzerland is in fact Swiss. The story of migration from Kosovo to Switzerland is one of integration and growing together. And it is a story of solidarity with those seeking refuge. For over 3 years now, we have once again witnessed war in Europe, on European soil. Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine reminds us that peace and self-determination can never be taken for granted. They must be defended. Kosovars understand all too well what it means to stand up for freedom and self-determination. Switzerland stands firmly behind international law and the territorial integrity of all states, whether in Ukraine or Kosovo. My country remains steadfastly committed to peace and security in the Western Balkans. We are working to strengthen democratic structures and bolster trust in the rule of law. Both Switzerland and Kosovo are democracies with diverse political landscapes, and both nations are committed to protecting minorities. This binds us together more profoundly than ever in these uncertain times globally. Madam President, Excellencies, today we all have the opportunity to discuss the full spectrum of bilateral relations. We will also address international developments. The European Union is an important partner for both our countries. Switzerland is pursuing its proven bilateral approach in its cooperation with the European Union. Our interest-based policy is reflected in a series of agreements with the EU in clearly defined areas. For its part, Kosovo aspires to full EU membership. We support this European ambition, as we do for all Western Balkan nations. We also have a special relationship with the United States. Switzerland enjoys a deep and long-standing partnership with the US, and for Kosovo, the US stands as one of its closest allies. It provided indispensable support on Kosovo's journey to independence and international recognition. Current geopolitical shifts, partly driven by US policy, present new challenges for many countries. The world is undergoing a profound realignment. We don't know what the new global balance will look like. But what we will need more than ever is a commitment to a rules-based international order, to peace and security, to open markets and democratic values. Madam President, Excellencies, one fundamental difference between our countries is the length of their existence as sovereign states. For Switzerland, the first decades of our federal state lies so far back that we largely forget it, or we tend to forget how difficult it was in the beginning and what it means to really build a nation. In contrast, Kosovo is Europe's youngest nation state. Despite this difference, we share many similarities, perhaps most notably our beautiful mountain landscape, but also the charm of small communities and the strong sense of belonging. So, Madam President, Mr. Sadriou, the entire Federal Council looks forward to your visit, to today's discussions, and to strengthening the future ties between our two countries. Thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have now the honor to invite Her Excellency Dr. Vjosa Osmani-Sadriou to deliver her address. Madam President.
Madam President of the Swiss Confederation, dear Karen, Dr. Keller, honorable members of the Federal Council, distinguished guests, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media. On behalf of the people of the Republic of Kosovo and the delegation accompanying me in this historic visit, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for your warm and generous welcome, as well as the deeply respectful words about the people of Kosovo and about my country. We both witnessed the warm welcome by Kosovars and others in Switzerland from so many nations, because there is so much that we admire about Switzerland, and there is so much that we aspire to learn from Switzerland. What makes Switzerland stand out is its remarkable political culture, defined by a spirit of cooperation, a strong commitment to inclusive decision-making, and a continuous thoughtful dialogue with all of its citizens. In this spirit, I'd like to take a moment to highlight a particularly powerful line from the preamble of the Swiss Constitution, as you would expect from a lawyer. And I quote, "And in the knowledge that only those who use their freedom remain free, and that the strength of a people is measured by the well-being of its weakest members." End of quote. This single sentence reflects two of Switzerland's most enduring values: liberty on one side and solidarity on the other. These are not mere constitutional phrases. These are lived principles, principles that define the very character of this nation. And it is this very spirit that made the people of Switzerland and this wonderful country stand with the people of Kosovo in our most difficult hours and also in our most hopeful moments. Just as Switzerland once offered refuge to minds like Albert Einstein and Thomas Mann, as well as to a young girl from Prague named Madeleine Albright, who then became the US Secretary of State, It became a powerful advocate for Kosovo's freedom. And so did hundreds of thousands of my fellow Kosovars find shelter here during the darkest hours in our history. It is here in Switzerland that many of Kosovo's freedom efforts found both protection and support. We will never, ever forget that. Kosovo will forever remain grateful to Switzerland and to all the people of Switzerland. Today, hundreds of thousands of people of Kosovar origin live in this wonderful country. Out of difference, we have built common ground. We have broken barriers, and we have built common dreams. Together, we have forged a unique partnership, rich in friendship and rich in people-to-people ties. The sons and daughters of those who once arrived as workers and refugees are now doctors and engineers, artists and entrepreneurs. They're building lives of purpose. They're strengthening their communities here in Switzerland. And every single day, they help drive the prosperity of their new home, Switzerland. Now, oftentimes, they also score goals. Epic goals, that is. And I imagine that Minister Beat Jans, who I hear is an unwavering supporter of FC Basel, might agree with me when I say that without Xherdan Shaqiri, Basel may not have clinched that championship the other day. Now, I'm not Swiss, and I really do not meddle in domestic affairs, but on this one, I just couldn't help myself. And would this really qualify as a proper speech if we didn't talk a little about football? After all, the only time in our football history when Kosovo fans were equally supporting both teams in a match that took place in Pristina, and when they were equally cheering for goals by both sides, one with our national team was actually playing against Switzerland, or to rather say with Switzerland. I'd say that this was a true testament to this very special relationship between our people and our countries. And as I speak of stories of success, let me take a moment to speak directly to every citizen of origin from Kosovo who came here to Switzerland. No matter your profession, your background, or the size of your platform, be a force for good, a living example of what positive integration looks like. Because living in this country isn't just a privilege, it's also a responsibility to uphold and to build on the values and institutions that have made Switzerland admired all around the world. The Kosovars who live here have made us proud in every area. And I'd like to especially speak to the women who came from Kosovo to this country, and tell them how proud they make me every single day with their resilience, their compassion, their contribution to Switzerland and to Kosovo through outstanding achievements in every walk of life. Because it is only by making sure that gender equality becomes a reality that we will ensure that our societies thrive. And in this cause, I will always be your biggest ally. And I know that you, Madam President, are a staunch ally of this cause and a strong supporter too. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, every nation needs support. Every nation, no matter how big or small, needs friends. Every democracy needs partners and allies. And in Kosovo, we are profoundly grateful for Switzerland's steadfast support that has helped guide our democratic journey and elevate our voice in the international stage. Switzerland's voice was clear very, very early on, because when it became the very first country in Europe, through President Karl Miret at that time, to openly speak that the only solution that would bring long-term peace and stability to our region is independence, freedom, and self-determination for Kosovo. At that time, it was only Switzerland saying that. But Switzerland did not stop with that. It helped us increase that support, a support that did not end with mere statements. You supported us in our state-building process and in rebuilding our country, which rose from the ashes of a horrendous war. Therefore, I want to especially express our gratitude to the men and women of Swisscoi who have served with honor in NATO's peacekeeping mission in Kosovo since 1999. Their presence is so much more than just symbolic. It's a living testament to Switzerland's enduring commitment to peace. Because peace, freedom, democracy, these values do not sustain themselves. They never happen by accident. They require sacrifice. They require continuous effort. They require vigilance. They must be defended, especially in times of uncertainty and aggression, as Europe is facing today. And the values that we share, the values that bind our two countries and our people, can only endure if we stand together. So on this special day, I really look forward to exchanging ideas with Switzerland's leadership, to engaging with visionary business leaders, and also to connecting with the vibrant members of our diaspora who have made this beautiful country their home. Kosovo may be a young republic, but we are a determined one, a functioning, consolidated democracy, open to the world and ready to partner with Switzerland across every field, political, economic, cultural, and yes, even in the football pitch. But more than that, we are here to listen, to learn, to grow from the Swiss experience, because we know that progress doesn't come from pride alone. It comes from humility, from curiosity, and from collaboration. And in that sense, one of Kosovo's biggest blessings in its history has been precisely the fact that it had partners and friends by its side, from Switzerland and many others in Europe, and all the way to the United States. You have stood with us through thick and thin, and the gratitude of the people of Kosovo will always remain unwavering. We are a young, dynamic, multilingual society thriving in the digital era, full of energy and eager for the future. And to Swiss investors, let me say this: you are welcome to Kosovo. In every town and in every village, you will find open doors and open hearts and an enormous potential. Don't be surprised if in one village you're greeted in the Bernese dialect, and in the next in the tones of Eastern Switzerland. That's not a translation glitch, that's appreciation. Appreciation for you who became their home when they were kicked out of their ancient homes. Our two countries share more than geography. We do share a continent, but also a sense of destiny. So perhaps Max Frisch felt that too when he visited Kosovo as a young man in 1933. Nearly a century later, one thing hasn't changed: our hospitality. It endures, and it's something that binds us together. Thank you so much for this great honor, Madam President, members of the Federal Council. To the people of Switzerland and all of the people of Kosovar and Albanian origin who greeted us today alongside so many others that came from around the world. Above all, thank you for your friendship, a friendship for Kosovo that is going to resist time because it is built on the strongest of values. Thank you so much for having me.